Okay, we should be live.
Okay.
Live or Memorex. You guys might not remember that.
I know what it is, but I can't say I remember it necessarily.
Set of VHS tapes. Which one was it? One or two? One. It was one or two.
If somebody calls in, does it show on there as well? Like if somebody was logged in?
I can see it.
Okay.
I can see if they're here. Just like I could see Justin's here.
Is Levi on there yet by chance?
No,
Oh, we can get started.
I don't think so. Let me pull up no, just Justin and us.
Well, if we're golden, I'll go ahead and start. Hopefully Levi pops in a couple minutes. So
I'm gonna try and change the camera, Justin, to be a little bit tighter, just out of curiosity. We'll see if this is better. Adjust this down a little bit.
hopefully we get back to the meeting here so we can mount that permanently.
I kind of like it over there. Actually.
It's not bad.
Steven, it's just more zoomed in now. So before you could see Cynthia and everybody now, it's just honed in on the table.
Right. Well, since it's a smaller group and we have no audience, I thought that would be a little bit more appropriate for
An advertisement for drinking water.
That's fine.
Okay, go ahead. Nan.
Okay.
I'm not gonna be doing anything here that you can't move forward with.
Alrighty, well, it's 7:03, June 2nd, 2021. I'll call this special meeting to order. Thank you guys. Right off the bat, I want to thank everybody for getting together on a short notice. But as you can see on our agenda, there's really just two things. We don't have any visitors, but Cynthia's here with us, and if there is any visitors, they can say their name now. Okay, we'll get rolling. First on the agenda is clerk wages. So I wanted to update the council just on kind of what's been going on for interviews and everything, as well as talk about wages. David sat in on a few interviews with me, both public works and clerk. So thank you for doing that. We have a candidate for the clerk, which I feel pretty strong about with his experience, and I've talked to him quite a bit and wanted to make sure that you guys were okay with the wages, how it was. Obviously, we've definitely had some comments the past 6 months or even a year of trying to get our city wages competitive. That current wage right now is $20. That's got
3 cents.
Yeah, that's what it says, but actually I think it's a little bit more. Let me pull it up here. The main part that I wanted to talk to you guys about is if we were okay with starting a clerk at that wage. That's what I thought would be fair, just because we've been trying to get those wages up a little bit competitive. And I just wanted to talk to you guys, I guess, and see if you guys had any thoughts on it. There's quite a bit of experience with the candidate that I've chosen or that I favor right now, so I don't think that's an issue.
You said there's experience?
Yeah,
Okay.
just there's just general experience with some of the things that we deal with here. But I guess, did anyone have a problem at keeping that wage the same?
Was there currently, I know our policy handbook isn't quite complete, updated. What's our current policy regarding probation? Has anything been discussed with the employee about a probation period?
I have not done that. I think
Okay.
I believe as it sits in our current handbook, the one that we were working off of, I believe it is stated in there as a 1-year probationary period,
Okay, I didn't know if it was 6 months or a year.
which
Yeah.
to me, maybe seemed like a little bit long, but I mean, that's
It's
opinion.
either 6 or a year. That's pretty general, well, for the most part. But however, okay, would you say what? Okay, this one here showing $20
Yeah,
and
let me
3 cents,
make sure I didn't get that wrong because I thought it was.
2021 or something.
It was, yeah, it was 2030 something. So I just made this little sheet.
2030.
Is that what you see? You have something there?
What have the hourly rates been traditionally?
That's what-
There we go. 2023.
Yeah.
So
2020.
sorry for my typo. Seems to happen a lot, but that should read 2023.
Now, the only thing I'd caution or going forward is that whoever we hire understands that we have a new policy book or handbook
In the works.
policy coming up in the works. So I can't, without refreshing my memory, going back and looking, I don't know how it's going to differ from this, but are they expected, as far as, I don't know what kind of experience
Yeah. Yep.
he has. And when there's going to be some costs associated with training a bit
Yep.
with this new one.
Yeah, there potentially could be, and I think we do have some money budgeted for training. So I think if that person's willing to take advantage of those trainings, and we should definitely try to do that.
I'm looking at these figures and I'm not fully comfortable with raising the rate for public works supervisor, but not for the clerk.
Say again. You are-
Raising one of them and not raising the other.
Yeah,
Which one were you? I misunderstood you, Peter. Are you in favor of raising public works or?
I'm not in favor of raising public works supervisors hourly rate without raising the city clerk. I mean, city clerk has a lot of responsibility.
Yeah, clerk does have a lot of responsibilities. The reason that I left it where it was is just because it,
That was Genesis current.
that was
or
Janice's
former.
current, and then obviously she had some experience in there, going into 2021 budget. But the reason that was left is just because there would be a new person and they would be starting at ground zero. So that's the reason that it stayed there. The other reason is obviously money. Everything comes down to budget. The public works supervisor, there's some money that we had originally budgeted in for the Casey's wages is budgeted for 1,200, which we currently only use 600 of it. And that's where some of the money was able to come from for the public works position. Without having to redo
this
a bunch of
candidate
numbers.
has their group 2 certification.
Not
Working
yet.
on it.
Not yet working on it. Does not currently have it.
So are you talking about the clerk right now or the public works supervisor?
One at a time.
I thought you were talking about the clerk, but now it seems like it's going back and forth.
You are correct. Both are thrown into it. So we can't go back to the clerk.
Okay.
For clarification.
Yep.
Well,
So I would-
two things, Nathan, on that. So when we interviewed originally before we hired Janice, one of the applicants with, say, stellar experience was, previously like at $24, $25 in Lincoln County. And so that was a challenge then. I just found out last week that like Walmart now is starting people at $18 an hour with Walmart and Airway Heights. So a lot of small businesses are competing with that right now, and they're struggling. So just for perspective, whether that's right or wrong, or if $20.23 is, maybe that's the probationary period number that you start with. And if the person works out, then we continue to, raise the wage.
Yeah, and time wise, it would be good because, if say, I believe either way, what our probationary period is, that'd be budget time too. So that'd be roughly 6 months from now, a little bit less, 5 months from now. We're obviously looking at budget stuff. So that's something that definitely could happen when we get to that point. As far as leaving it this wage probationary period, and if we'd like to get that up a little bit more towards the end of this year, then we definitely could do that.
Hey, Justin, did you have a range in mind, in the back of your mind, that we should be looking at?
No, I don't have, I mean, I think, I just remember when we interviewed the first time, it was a struggle because I think maybe Peter asked, or David, you just asked, previously Bunny was on a salary.
Uh-huh.
So that's what we started Janice on, was a salary as well. And then it switched over with, you guys with the handbook stuff, switched it over to an hourly rate this year, I believe it was. So I'm indifferent, just, it's more of just information of where it's at. I think that all of our positions, the 3 positions that we have, we will be struggling, or we will struggle with, like what Nathan said, the dollars that we have here. And so if we could find somebody that can do it for $20.23 an hour and is qualified, and I mean, I'm all for that. I mean, I have no objections.
Okay.
Just to be clear, that is our proposed change to move to hourly. However, the new handbook is not yet ratified, so this would be in the context of a salary until that.
No, but we changed budget wise.
Yeah, but until the handbook is changed, that's not fully complete though. It's just budgeted for.
Sure.
Just for anybody that knows, the salary that was previous, what did it work out to an actual hour per hour? Does anybody off the top of their head?
Well,
I want to say 18-ish.
1846.
Yeah,
That's what I have.
Previous to
Well, when you say previous, I mean, isn't 20,
Bunny
when it says 2021 current, oh, that was Bunny's.
Yeah,
Okay,
Bunny.
so that's where Janice,
started.
Janice started, but with more hours per week. So Janice started at that, went up to 2003
Went
over the course of her tenure.
At the first of the
to
year.
2023. That's a typo on my,
Oh,
So this
2023,
20
sorry. I must have been thinking with the electronic.
yes, sorry. That's a typo on my part.
Okay,
Yeah, so Janice's salary was different than Bunny's. So
right.
Janice didn't start where Bunny left off. And then, like you just said, it was also different for hours. Bunny was 35 hours per week was what the salary was originally set with Paul or somebody. Janice was on a 40-hour work week. So there was an adjustment in that sense.
Was there also some allowance for not taking city insurance?
Not originally. Originally, when Janice was hired, she had the insurance. I think that the insurance thing changed this year or with the 2021 budget.
Yeah, correct.
I'll say this, at my work, it's a pipe dream to think you can get any replacement for the same money you were paying the previous person. I mean, we would be lucky to not go over 10% of what the previous pay was to acquire a new employee of the same skill set, especially in this environment where everyone's thinking inflation. So I think, as much as in an ideal world, it would be nice to start a lesser tenured person a little bit lower. I think we should take it and run on the city clerk if that's what we can get. And you're confident in the person.
I agree with that pretense to the point that there was a certain amount of training expense involved. So yes, a lower wage starting out at this be fine, probably, see, because we don't know, they might not want to work.
Sure, could be. I think too, the point of revisiting these numbers, obviously, I mean,
At the
say
budget.
6 months, but it'd obviously be less than that when we start to do budget stuff. I think that's an appropriate time. It just happens to work kind of as a probationary period at this, we start at this rate, and then if
Right.
there's
Did the employee or did the applicant, did they express did they ask or kind of project what they wanted or what they were making? Any
Nope.
ballpark?
nope,
anything?
that actually was the
Expectations?
last question that I got, and it
Yeah.
was an afterthought. So
Okay.
the applicant was happy with that and said, okay, thank you. I don't even think it was talked about, partially to my mistake during the interview, but
And we've had 3, correct?
yes.
Are any of the other ones under even consideration in your mind? Either of the other ones?
Would be, this is my choice, I guess. the person that I've contacted now is my pick.
Are people comfortable with having the public works supervisor earn a higher wage than the city clerk does?
Well,
I would be, when we get to that point, I would, for the simple, I'll explain why when we get there. I hope you'll see it, it'll become more crystal clear once we discuss that.
I think if the person will, if the candidate's willing to start for that money, let's start there. And if we need to raise budget to keep them later, after the probationary period, we can certainly look at that. But I don't think we're setting something in stone for the future at this point. So,
And given that our policy book is not totally
Yes.
ratified and things will change, but and call it a probationary wage.
Yeah.
For your,
Are you talking
Step.
about the city clerk
clerk,
now?
yeah,
Yeah.
city clerk
Because
There-
public works supervisor is also in a probationary position.
as well. He
Right.
will be, or they will be.
There's also a certification for the clerk that Bunny had, that she'd gotten several years ago or 20 years ago or something longer. That this something that, I talked to Janice about originally. I don't know if Nathan did or not too, but that's training, that's part of that quote unquote training. So maybe just like we've talked about for the last several years with our city maintenance folks, that if they get additional certifications or, credentials or something of that, whatever is applicable to that position, that we would also look at increasing their wages if they had that.
That's fair.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think
I mean-
that's a good incentivize things. And I think we have no other choice, but yeah,
so are you looking for a vote or something on clerk before we move to
I
supervisor?
would, yes, I would entertain a motion to approve that current, and let me be clear that it's $20.23, to have it as a starting wage for our candidate or potential new employee for the clerk job.
and you, go ahead.
Before you make the motion, can I ask one question?
Sure.
Yeah.
Does that include insurance or not? Or do we need to worry about that?
No, as far as I know right now, we do not need to worry about insurance.
Okay,
We will, let me rephrase that, we will not need to pay for that.
That
Thank
is
you.
status quo from,
And I will double check on that to make sure, because I don't want to put my foot in my mouth.
So moved.
Second,
Go ahead.
David got it.
Okay, the motion has been made by Steven, seconded by David. Any more discussion on the clerk starting wage?
Just one thing, Mr. Mayor, you feel comfortable with the qualifications? I didn't have a chance. I mean.
I do, yes. Yep.
Okay,
the one thing that we did too with Janice, and you can do it here, is we did a background check, subject to and that was something we just did. It was like $14 or $20 online, that we went through the state, like the Wash State Patrol or something. It wasn't that extensive, but it was a basic one, just because obviously clerk position. So we just said subject, originally it was just subject to that. It wasn't an issue, but
is that a current policy on the books, Justin, that we know of?
I don't think so. Again, this was, Bunny's position, which hadn't been filled for 40 years.
Yeah.
So when we were kind of just doing what we thought was maybe best practice, we didn't, the person that, obviously Janice at the time, I didn't know her from anything, but any other applicant, I would have done the same thing, just to make sure that I felt like we were doing our due diligence.
I feel like it's a necessary step with any employee.
And I think our new policy address all that
Yep.
too. So
It's in the handbook.
it would be there.
Note taken, thank you.
Call a question.
Yes, all in favor of a motion on the floor to keep the starting wage of $20.23 for our new clerk, signify by saying aye, please.
I,
Aye.
And no Levi with us, so, okay. Motion passes 4-0. Thank you, guys. Okay, Peter, we can move on to the Public Works wage, and I'll give you, so this handout that I gave you, Justin, I didn't send this to you, so I apologize. It is, I've just got some notes on here, so. The current wage for the Public Works supervisor is at $20.01. We have a candidate who I feel would work very good for the job. Has some certifications and training, some experience that we're looking for as far as a wastewater treatment plant, and definitely is willing to go further and get some other certifications as far as the clean water and so we originally budgeted, or it's been like that since I've been here. I think Justin had it in there, budgeted $1,200 a month for Casey among services at AAA Labs. We currently only pay $600 a month for what she does for us. So that's where this extra money comes in. You guys can see it's $600 a month, and then an average of 160 hours per month.
Yep.
$375 an hour. That $375 an hour was also the closest I could come to the asking wage of this candidate.
Exactly.
That candidate obviously works for a bigger place right now, and makes a substantial amount more than what we were offering at $20. So that was kind of our meet. That was his counter offer. And so I with the math there, you see that's kind of how that wage come up. It didn't just get pulled out of thin air, but that's where the $23.76 an hour comes in at. And then I want to make another point too, is he is currently working on getting his group 2, which obviously we've always sought after. That's what we pay Casey for monthly, is a group 2, or the working under her license. So I also wanted to propose, and we don't have to hash this out right now, but it just kind of goes into the entire equation, is to propose some or all of that money when we get to that point where we have our own group 2 operator, to put that into this person's salary as well. It doesn't have to be all of it. That can be some of it, whatever we chose to do there.
To be clear, the way we're looking to fund this is to give all of the group 2 pay to the candidate now without group 2 certification. And
No.
then
Partial of it. So
Group 1.
it'd be the other $600 that we don't pay Casey currently is built back into the Public Works salary. At this point, that's the $23.76.
okay,
And then
Why are
after
we
that,
paying him so much already without before he gets his group 2 certification?
just to try to retain that employee. So he currently works at a wastewater treatment plant already and has experience and is already on route to get the group 2.
Mhm.
And if I may just add to the
Sure.
mayor's comments, I happened to sit in on that interview, and appearance of a bright young man. He's a level 1 right now, and he's in progress with level 2 certification. And the holdup right now is the bureaucracy in Olympia. Everything's by phone. That's the red tape he has to go through. That's what's holding him up from getting it. He has a Class A CDL right now.
Mhm.
He, equipment operator by trade. He has welder certification, pesticide license.
Yep.
Um,
Some of those incentives that we built in for our previous employees
Yeah,
to earn more on their hourly wage, he already retains to what I see fairly important.
and if I think someone's budget or mentioned it, if we didn't have anybody there, we'd have to pay Casey about $1,300. Now, if you take that same amount, that's all, and use the same, 160 hours a month. If my math is done correctly, I think it was $8.75 or over $8 a month. An hour, excuse me, $8 an hour additional. So again, keep in mind there's a probationary period here. And I personally would feel comfortable saying I met him, and he makes substantially more for for this. And for him to walk in personally, walk into what the city has to offer right now for his equipment and everything else. I don't have a problem with him starting out at least 20 or $23 is my feelings. I think is that what you were proposing is 23?
2376. Yep.
And I guess we could build in some contingencies into that too. Well, obviously, if he doesn't, if he gets his level 2, I mean, but he should be
Hey, we
definitely
are.
going to save us money.
Mhm.
And,
We are. You want me to put you on speakerphone? Okay.
So that's what I was referring to, Peter, was all the things he has right now in current.
So I have a series of questions when you're ready.
Go ahead,
Good.
I'll yield.
So what are the things, let's start with, is there any certifications or capabilities other than tribal knowledge that Scott has that this new candidate does not?
I don't believe so.
Water.
Oh, yes, correct. It was the clean water distribution manager. I'm not sure if that's the exact title, but the clean water part of it. Thank you.
Is that a certification though, or is that experience?
That's, I think
Both,
there's
I think.
experience to go along with it, but it's an actual
Certification.
certification. It's hanging on the wall over there, I believe.
Is that one of the ones that we incentivize specifically?
I don't like prior. I don't think so. I don't believe so.
During the interview, he was going to do his best work on it. And at the time, Scotty was still here, going to show him a few things. Well, that didn't materialize, conflict of time schedules and everything. But however, his dad works at the same business, same city, and is the lead supervisor in the water department. And that's his main bag there is doing all that. And he felt any questions, any type of pick the brain or information you get from him.
And just to make it clear on that point, he doesn't have that, but he's willing to
Oh, yeah.
obtain that
Is that going to
certification.
put us in a problem if anything he can't legally do without that certification?
I don't know the answer to that. So I have another little portion here that I want to talk about. It'll kind of tie in that, but I don't know that for sure. I imagine that there's a reason that there has to be a certification for that, probably for sampling or
Okay. So what are the things that this candidate has that Scotty does not?
just the pesticide, right now, just that I know is the pesticide license and the welder certification, which, yeah, and the class A, Scott, I think has class B, but,
Does that make a difference for us?
for us, I don't believe so. I'd have to look at what the different,
The pesticide thing, we pay, I don't know if it's $3,000 or $4,000 a year to somebody to spray down at the lagoons,
I just paid that bill.
because Scott originally, it was before my time, but he had a pesticide applicator certificate and let it go. So we had to start paying somebody. Now that $3,000 or $4,000 also includes probably the material or the chemical. So it's probably not 100%, but maybe, I have no idea, but I would say 50-50, that if it's $4,000, maybe 2,000 of that's in chemical and 2,000 of that's in the guy's wage or something. So
Okay.
I have no idea though, but but that is something that we could start doing again. And I'm sure it would save us money instead of outsourcing it.
Right.
So here's where some of my concern is that there was a challenge brought up in a meeting in the public comment section, I believe, that part of why we wanted to make a change here was so that we could pay the new employee more than the existing one. My concern is to try and make sure that that doesn't happen on the original skill set. However, we're talking about some skill set changes here. So I think that the person, I've always been an advocate that we should pay whatever we would have to pay a group 2 operator. We should give that same pay to our public works supervisor if they get that. So I would say that as soon as he receives that certification, he's due the entire amount that we pay Cassie on to do that, or Casey, whatever. And then similarly, if he already has the pesticide license, then I would consider if we could find a breakdown of what's materials versus what's basically the license fee of that, that he would already get that money starting right now. I guess it becomes a little bit of a question in my mind of what is salary versus what is the base salary that we're endorsing here, and what are the extras that are being added onto it? Because if we consider this 2376 as the base salary, that makes me a little bit uncomfortable. If we consider the 2376 to have the money from the spray stuff already in that, and maybe some other things with it, that becomes a little bit more tenable to me. And then of course, they would also say upon the acquisition of their group 2 operator, their pay would go up significantly from that. So I guess I would look at it to say that maybe we need to, all of this may be moot, because if you are concerned that they won't even necessarily accept this amount of money, if we were to think about even reducing it, we're probably letting the candidate go entirely. But I am trying to be a little bit true to the original concerns that we had with that statement. So.
Real quick, Stephen. Stephen, this is just to a point you made earlier that about this, the clerk thing was every time you replace somebody, you think at least 10% increase, right? So if it's $20, then at least $22 is where maybe you start at versus the $23.75. But I think I've talked to Nathan a few times in the last few weeks about the interview, and it sounds like this person is making substantially more now and is kind of coming out here on a whim, and sees some potential to get back closer to where he was at originally with these additional certifications that he can get. So
I get that. I guess I'm trying to reframe a little bit of this to say that some of that might not be realized right off the bat. Some of that might be realized upon the acquisition of the group 2. Because if that's $3,500 a month, that's going to significantly change that person's salary.
No, so that's just kind of a different, or you're looking at the bottom point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's kind of a different deal. I'm going to touch on that in a minute, but I understand what you're saying. I guess I didn't break it down that way. The additional amount of money that went into the proposed $1 per hour rate now versus the old one was simply the other half of what we don't have to pay Casey at this moment. So because of what he has, but if we want to structure that to where the pesticide comes in, Scott had a CDL, but maybe we wouldn't always get a person that had a CDL. So I think, that was worth, 50 cents or something originally what we had per hour for just that. So.
Because from what I'm currently aware, Scott's certifications and currently consist of basically our minimum required set, because we pay for chemicals, we pay for group 2, right? And so my concern is going forward, if we don't consider these things, because let me put it in terms of this. I'm thinking about what happens after this next person, right? Is if the next person that comes in doesn't have a group 2, and we think, well, historically, we haven't always had a group 2 person. Does that mean we take their salary backwards? Probably not. That's why I'm thinking we need to set the salary for the baseline set of requirements and then put additions onto that when the person meets those requirements. It's all the same in their pocketbook, right? But in terms of how we sustain this going forward, it's saying, look, we're paying this much for the baseline set of qualifications. You happen to have these additional things, you get paid more.
And I think that's exactly how it's set now. in my mind, at least, that $20 is that base pay.
Well, you already kind of advertised that we're looking for a group 2 and all this stuff.
Right.
And everything. So that kind of already said it. In future, if somebody applies, if they don't have it, there's no way they could expect that wage.
How many applicants have we had?
1, 2, 3.
How many of them have a group 2? 0. Well, so that's why I'm saying to make group 2 a baseline qualification, that's going to narrow your pool quite significantly.
So the other thing is right now, if technically, depending on the length of time, we would pay, because we don't have anybody, but I mean, the payoff we had was the reason we budgeted more for Casey was in the event that she had to come out here and do more of that work, like the day-to-day work that Scott or the group one was doing. So we don't have a group one right now at all. So technically we should have Casey out there every day or at least several days a week. And that rate's going to go up to 1,200, if not more, by not having the basic, a group one. And that's where the Department of Ecology has let us work, because we had a group one on site daily doing the day-to-day work, and then group two could sign off on it. So we don't have anybody right now. So that means that we should start paying Casey and having her come out every week or multiple times a week to do that in order to stay compliant with our permit.
And
So-
let me,
Does this candidate have a group one?
they're OIT, so I was just reading up on that because I was talking to Department of Ecology, I think early last week. And I said group one, and then I was talking with somebody else, and this is why I thought he just had OIT. So from what I understand, OIT is just the person applied for that license for group one or group two, just doesn't have quite enough experience. And once that experience hits, then they are considered a group, whatever they're applying for.
Level. He was going for a level 2, right?
Correct.
But he has answered Stephen's question. He is a level 1. That's what he said. in
I don't
his-
think so. Unless I misunderstood.
He's level 1 light. Sounds like.
Yes, if I understand the Department of Ecology website correctly, from what I read up.
Well, Scotty was what?
Scotty was a group one.
Level 1.
Yeah, level one.
Or group 1, I don't know. They're 1. So, and this guy, because I wrote down what he said, and could we verify that? I mean, how would we verify that or clarify it?
Either talk to him or Ecology or both.
So how often do we spray and pay that?
Says
$4,000?
I texted him this earlier. He said I'm considered a group one operator as well as a group one OIT. There's a group one operator. So I guess to answer your question, Stephen, maybe I misspoke. Yes, he is
Okay.
considered a group one operator. He has applied for 2, and that
Okay,
will
so
fall
he
in
can
with
take over for
experience.
Scott's existing responsibilities
Yep.
then.
And I want to
So-
touch. Go ahead.
So how often do we spray per year and pay that $4,000 bill?
Well, the 4,000 is what's budgeted. So we, like last year,
That's the whole year
sprayed,
then.
sprayed twice. And that's, remind you, that's only a few select spots in town. And that's
Okay.
not doing roadside, that's doing park,
So,
cemetery.
and I know we're working with rough numbers here, but so if half of that is the license, then there's $1 constituted in changing license fee to salary. So that gets you $1 of the 2376. What's the 3,500 a month about?
Okay, so Justin, again, I apologize, I didn't send this to you. And I just got this number today, so the bottom of this shows 3,500 per month extra to contract all services with Casey, so
Per month,
per month.
yes.
Yep, so I talked to her today and said, well, we obviously don't have a group one on the ground right now. We gotta make sure we get all our testing and our samples done. So what she proposed was to contract, she would hire Scott and contract with us for an additional amount of money to have him do the testing until we got somebody on board. So, okay, well, I'm glad Justin recommended to keep that extra $600 in the budget for Casey. So I said, all right, well, I'll get some numbers to me and we'll figure it out. Well, today I got an email. That $600 isn't gonna do it. That's her proposed amount per month to have somebody, to have Scott just do the water
Or
and
status quo.
just do the wastewater. Just
How-
those two
How
things.
long would we expect to be without a person in this spot though? How long until this candidate could start?
Plus how long till it could start? Probably 2 weeks. So it'd be within the month
So we'd be paying only a half a month of that rate then,
if
or maybe. a
she'll
little more.
prorate it that way, sure. But I just want to put that number, and that number just wanted to show what we would be charged if we didn't have that person on the ground. that
Yeah,
group one.
but I don't know that that's necessarily relevant because we're not talking about not filling this position, and a number of the needs of this position are already inherent in our group one requirement for this role. So
But that's a little bit more where the money plays into that. We offered this, he counter offered, said, hey, I gotta have this for me to be able to do this. So, okay, we'll see what we can do. And then in the meantime, I said, well, what's it gonna cost us if we don't have anyone? Because as of Tuesday,
It'll get expensive.
right,
And we don't have qualified candidates knocking down our door.
mm,
So I don't have a license. Nobody here does. So what are you gonna do? You're gonna have to pay. We're over a barrel with Casey, our collagen.
so if he starts in 2 weeks, you say you just paid the bill for the whole year of spraying, right?
for one, I paid the bill for one spray service. So
So
I
there's
don't,
another one of those that would theoretically come around.
not the full. No, it's not
No.
budgeted for that much. We
Okay.
budgeted to spray once, got it at the correct time, and it'd be done. As far as that's the
Okay,
treatment.
so that's
plant we'll
already,
use.
that's kind of already off the table for this year then, so.
I remind you about all the other spraying too. I mean, that we can be or should be doing.
So we would say then that, so if this person starts working at 2376 and they get their group 2, how much do you think they should get in an additional salary?
Well, whatever.
I would propose the other $600.
The other half?
Yes.
Okay,
We don't
so
have to go that
basically,
route, but-
you could think of this as that we're starting them at the existing salary of Scott's, but we're basically kind of betting and committing half up front of the group 2. They get the other half when they actually obtain it.
Correct. That's the way it worked out in my mind. Plus, like you added earlier, some of that too is built in with the pesticide and the CDL. I mean, we don't have to pay for CDL
Right, so
class.
they're actually getting less than half of it, because if you factor in $1 of spray, then they're getting $2.75 an hour in advance, basically, of the group 2 certification.
It definitely depends how you want to look at it, but
So in the end, then, to be clear, is the other half of this, then, as soon as they acquire their group 2 certification, in total, the expectation that I would have then would be that they would be at 2856.
Yep. That'd be full.
Because it'd be 750 of, it'd be 750 of Cassie, the group 2, and it'd be $1 of spray on top of the 2001.
Well, you look at it this way, you're gonna pay him or you're gonna pay Casey. one or
Right.
two.
So but real quick though, you have to use 2,080 hours, right? Not
Right.
2,000. So the 1,200 times 12 is 14,400 divided by 20. That's 692 an hour. So if you divide that by 2, that's 346 an hour. Just for whatever reason. The other thing is that $3,500 a month, if you assume 3 hours a day times 5 days a week, it's 15 hours a week times 4. That's $58 an hour is what we're getting charged for that full sewer service by itself.
No, I'm, so to be clear where I'm at, I think I'm bought in on this. I think the numbers work. From my perspective, with the math that I already outlined, I think the way I see it, this new supervisor would be starting at Scotty's rate. The difference is that we're advancing him the spray, we're advanced, or you know, however you want to work it out, we're advancing him 375 against the application of future qualifications and certifications. And when that comes into full fruition, you're going to be somewhere in the $27 an hour range.
close to. And then
Possibly.
the
But
yeah, the
that
water
gets-
certification
But
on
then
top
that
of that.
gets offset by the fact that next year, as we increase this person's salary again to represent their certifications, all of Cassie's stuff goes away. So it's just a transfer of money. It's not a new budget expense. It's just transferring money from one to another. And then for the spray, in theory, you're still paying the chemicals, but you're moving that spray cost over. So I can accept that. I'm just calling it out because if any of the council sees $27 an hour or something next year, it goes, what the heck? Well, how did we go from 20 to 27?
Sure.
I'm just giving a heads up to say that's how we're doing it. And in the end, what it ends up being by my interpretation is the same money as Scott's today, plus the certification incentives that we always offered him.
Correct.
What was Scott's last salary?
$20.01.
Yep.
So I'm good.
If I'm doing that, or is it-
Yeah, I think so.
I thought-
Levi, do you have any questions? Comments?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
good.
Peter, do you have anything else?
No. One question. We pay Stacy Mung only 6 months a year.
No,
No, we pay her 12 months a year, but only half of what we have budgeted, $600 per month for her services.
because we have a level 1 on board.
In 6 months.
Well, originally though, too, when that happened, there wasn't, ecology wanted her to come out more, so that was a rate that she set with Dylan when Dylan was the mayor. And then when it found out that she didn't have to come out full time, she just said, at this point, I'll just charge you this much, but if I have to come out more, it's gonna be that much, and we didn't know what Scott was gonna do and when. So that's why we kept it in that budget that way for the last couple of years, because of the unknowns.
And I think too, if that were to play true of having to have her come out, she expressed, absolutely, she expressed that it would be quite a bit more than that figure.
Yeah.
But that is the figure that we've budgeted for because it was set originally.
Well, that's when we also had, Keith was here too originally, and Keith could also help with some of that work. We don't have anybody here now to do that extra, to do whatever that work was, so. So obviously now it's gonna cost, could cost us a lot because we don't have anybody with anything. And so.
So as always,
Instead of being penny wise and pound foolish, I say we accept or we go this route.
Yep.
As we discussed.
I think Steven's broke it out a little bit better for me as normal. Steven always ends up having to elaborate a little bit on my.
Are you looking for a motion on the base salary of 2376 then?
Correct.
So moved.
Okay, we have a
Second.
motion by Peter, seconded by David. Any more discussion, questions?
I just would like it posed to the candidate with the proviso that they would get the remainder. If this hasn't already been made clear, they're getting the remainder of their certificate incentives, not full fresh again when they come due.
Yeah, the other,
Not full what, Stephen?
Basically, the candidate understands that when they get their group 2 certification, they're getting the remainder of this amount, not the whole thing that we're paying Cassie again.
yeah, there's the other half. That, yeah. And
Yeah.
essentially getting half of that now, and we'll get the other half
Right,
upon completion of that certificate, not half of it now and then the full.
right.
And it's
Amount
con-
over
and
again.
It's contingent upon him.
Yep.
Fulfilling his.
And I feel like that's fair.
Okay, I'm good.
Okay. Any more discussion? Levi, you're happy?
I'm good.
Okay.
Good.
All in favor of setting the base wage of 23.76, signify by saying aye.
I
All right,
Levi, did you get in there?
I did.
Okay. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you guys. And since it was short notice, thank you guys again for coming. I don't have any, that's all I wanted to hash out. I wanted to get that talked about, and
You don't need to do executive session.
I would like to.
you want to,
For 15.
I don't know, how do we do it with Justin?
He can
And
bring him
Levi.
back. He can
I
come
can
back there
bring-
with us.
We can stop the stream and he can continue on with us.
Okay,
Yeah. Do you feel, I guess, one last thing on this topic? Are you comfortable this is where you want to offer, even if they want to walk away, or do you want to discuss any provisos? How bad do you want this candidate? Let me put it this way. Maybe I'm asking David and Nathan, because I could be convinced if you guys, I trust your judgment, that if you guys are convinced that they're really the right candidate, I could be convinced to advance them a little more against their certifications. But because I don't know, it'd be better for you to have some power in hand, maybe.
Some wiggle room.
He said he countered, Nathan said this guy already countered at 2376.
Yep.
So he's already come back at this rate. That's what he's
Oh,
proposed.
I thought you said that
Correct.
you were unsure that he would even, you said this was the closest you could get to the rate that you want.
correct. His counter was still a little bit higher than this, but this is what I could do to get,
He
that was the
accepted.
closest I could get to
Oh,
his
so
counter
we're
offer.
good. Okay.
Yep.
Never mind.
But to answer your other question, is this the best candidate? This is absolutely 100% not a dig on him whatsoever, but this is the best candidate that we have, absolutely, in my opinion.
Okay, we're good then. So do you need to, no, we can't close the meeting until after. Do we need to come back into session to close? Is
Yeah.
technically,
We can't take any action in
If we
executive
call the
session.
minutes, 10 minutes, 15, we can't enter.
Yeah, the reason, how long, and then we just have to figure out. Levi, you're gonna carried with us on the phone.
That's cool.
I'm just confused how I do the YouTube part of this because,
Once you stop, it's gonna stop.
well, this is a publicly available, this is technically a public open meeting.
Right, correct.
So they could have, by stopping the stream, the YouTube stream and not turning it back on,
They could think that it's over.
well, they could think that it's so.
Could
Okay,
Justin call in on
So
his
let me
phone?
put it this way, to anyone who's watching on YouTube, it is, if you want to watch us come back from executive session and close the meeting to ensure that that is what we're doing, you are welcome to come to and wait outside the city council door and come back for that. You have access. But I think we're going to shut off the YouTube stream and not turn it back on from this point on. And you'll need to attend in person, which you have the right and ability to do if you want to see us close the meeting from public session. Does that sound right to everyone?
I
Because I
think that's
can't,
fair. I don't know the YouTube part of it, so
because I don't think I can restart the YouTube stream from this meeting is the problem. And I don't think I can just mute the YouTube stream. So I can either stop it or not, or I could leave, we could go in the back room and I could leave it running blank while
I
we're,
was gonna
I do
say-
that. So just call 10 minutes because what I mean, mine won't take that long.
and then could we get
And-
Justin on
on
the
a
phone
phone?
maybe, or some other means of communicating?
I can call Justin.
Does that work okay for you, Justin?
Sure.
Okay, so 7:54, call executive session for 15 minutes.
Till 10 after 8.
Do we have to announce why we're going? to
Yes.
executive session?
Yes,
Personnel issues.
okay,
Have to
so
read
10
those out.
after. So yeah, 16 minutes, I guess. Okay,
All right. Same thing, you gotta hold the fort down. James.
Are you there, Stephen?
Yeah.
It's
Okay,
back. You're back.
I gotta check to see if the YouTube stream dropped. Hopefully not.
I was the only one on for a bit. I just looked back and I was the only participant until you just signed on, so.
Yeah, there might have been some kind of an internet burp that went on here. Okay, it looks like it kept it all going, so that's good.
Technology.
Well, that was a successful hour.
Further business?
We got adjourned, but we have to wait 4 minutes until we can do that. Wonder why you can't come out of executive session early, just so people have a chance to know what time you're
It's
getting back
it's
into
a
session.
State law or.
Yeah. Because if they're coming back, waiting to hear for you, if there's any other, public comment or something else or whatever gets added, but if you said, well, we're gonna close it now, and then you come back, they're like, wait a second, I'm still here.
Ooh.
So
I
it's like a
did
convenience thing.
put public comment on agenda.
Yeah, are we obligated to do public comment even when there's no? Oh, okay.
You don't ever have to allow public comment if you don't want to, but I like to. I just forgot to put it.
The school board had a special meeting last month and while they allow public comments at their regular meetings, they specifically said that there would be no public comment at their special meeting, so not that they're the authority on it, but it's
Yeah.
But you are correct, all that, the RCWs and the MSRCs that state that as well.
the Open Public Meeting Act says that the spirit of it says you should allow public comment, but you are not required to. But like
Yeah.
Nathan said, I think it's a good idea. I mean, it's the spirit of it. You want as much public involvement as you can get.
Absolutely. The other sticky thing with special meetings is you can't add items. I don't know if public comment constitutes adding an agenda item or not. I mean, kind of. I don't know. We'll let her go with the way it is this time.
Well, there's no public
Yeah.
to comment anyway, so.
Sure.
Got a minute and 20 seconds.
I guess I should have listened to David's 10 minutes instead of I just like to start with more time than have to come back out 5 times.
Nothing wrong with that.
Who do we have to thank for that?
That would be our technology person,
Awesome.
also known as Steven.
45 seconds.
How many minutes for executive session did these?
We set out 15, so we got about 30 seconds and then we can reconvene. In all fairness, David did say 10. I changed it to 15, so he was correct.
10 seconds.
Nice. Engines have started.
Okay,
Well,
Levi, do it.
Make a motion to adjourn.
all in favor of adjourning at 8:10?
Require a second or not?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Second.
Motion to adjourn by Levi, seconded by Peter. Any more discussion?
Aye.
Aye.
All in favor of adjourning at 8:10 still?
Aye.
Okay, we have 5 ayes to adjourn. Thank you, guys. Sorry about the short notice, but I appreciate it.
Aye.
Thank you. Night.
Good night.
Yep.
we have any more interviews scheduled for prospective employees?
Not scheduled. I have 2 more to call for the second person. There's a little confusion on the first one too, on one of these.
Can't
Little
tell.
confusion?
Well, yeah. One of these applications I thought that came in was